What is the process of somebody's, accused of misconduct? And
so it varies from service to service. But generally speaking, the process is the same in this regard. You're going to be notified, right? You're going to be notified by your PMS that they are moving forward with a disenrollment. In the Navy, Marine Corps, they call it, I believe it's a performance review board. It's basically the same thing. Now, what that means is you're under investigation. They are going to investigate whatever allegation is against you. And then that PMS or PNS is going to take that investigation and make a recommendation to the brigade commander, who will then initiate the disenrollment proceedings if he or she sees that that's what should happen.
Okay.
Right? What will happen also is you're going to get what's called a leave of absence in the Army. It's basically a flag. It's saying, hey, you're not allowed to come to any more of the courses until this whole thing is figured out, and you're not going to get paid anymore because you're getting a stipend while you're in that program.
Right.
So they're gonna put a cease to that, and then during that time, while you're being investigated, that's when you and your lawyer start gathering all the evidence, and you have an opportunity to meet with this investigator right before they make a decision whether or not to send it to a hearing. You have an opportunity to meet with the investigator, and that might be in your best interest. It might not be. It just depends on the case. The one thing I'll say, if you're in the Air Force ROTC, that is the only opportunity you're going to have to make your case, is to meet with that investigator. You don't get a hearing. Like, that is it.
Really? And that's just in the Air Force?
That's just in the Air Force.
I find that to be just so shocking. I think it just shows so shocking. They can force you to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases, and you don't even get an opportunity for a hearing. But I know that's the way it is. I just don't think it's very fair.
Yeah.
So in the Air Force, you would just make your case to that investigator.
You have
I didn't do it.
You have 5 days to do it.
Wow.
They notify you. Got 5 days later, you're meeting with that investigator. So
how long does it normally take, like outside of the Air Force, the process of gathering evidence?
Months. Generally speaking, once you've been notified or your investigation, it takes a long time for that to happen and get up through the chain. It gives you a lot of time to prepare, to gather the evidence. And then if they decide that they want to go forward, that also takes a good bit of time to set up the board, because that follows generally the same procedures as an administrative hearing.
Yeah, they're very similar at that point, with obviously one big difference when you get to the hearing.
Similar to a separation board that you would have if you were...
Well, I want Rob to talk about the biggest difference.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just crazy to me.
Yeah, so when you're in the Army and you're notified of separation, right, you have the right to this board, and it is really a mini trial. You have a right to voir dire the board. You have a right to an opening statement, closing arguments, present evidence, cross-examine. Your attorney can do all of that for you at a board, right? Yeah. At an ROTC disenrollment board, however, much like a Title IX board, the attorney doesn't have the right to litigate on your behalf. The person being accused, the client for us, has to represent themselves. Now, the attorney can be there, and our job is to prep the case like we were litigating. We literally have to write opening statements and cross-examinations and practice it with our client over and over again, kind of like we're back in law school and we're helping out folks in moot court. But the attorney doesn't have a right to talk, which to me, I think is absurd. I think number one, I think it's biased. I think it's unfair. I think that it's a miscarriage of justice, because, like Mickey said, if you're kicked out of the ROTC program, you might have to pay back a lot of money, or give up 2 years of your life. Your attorney should be able to argue for you, because there's enough at stake where the attorney should be able to do it for you. That's the purpose of hiring an attorney. But the ROTC boards don't allow it to happen, just like the Title IX boards don't. And I think in both cases, it's a miscarriage of justice.
I think that's shocking, too. I mean, what if you had somebody who was absolutely petrified to get up and talk in front of even two or three people?
It doesn't matter.
Which I'm sure you probably have seen.
And sometimes, we have cases on the ROTC level that are serious cases. I mean, sexual assault allegations, we get those all of the time.
Yeah.
And we've got some, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid who doesn't know the first thing about the law, trying to litigate on his own behalf. If he doesn't have an attorney, or she doesn't have an attorney, first of all, I don't know how they do it. And then with the attorney, our job is to get them prepped, get them ready. We go over it, practice it. And plus, I think having the attorney there, it ensures the board is not going to take advantage of your client, right? When there's no attorney there.
But what if they tried to? What could you do?
The attorney could stand up for the client, just not on the record. Right.
Understood.
Yeah,
and they're not going to do that.
There's a review process. Everything gets routed back up through Because you have the board, they make a recommendation. So their word isn't final. This is what's so crazy to me. So they make a recommendation about what should happen to this cadet or midshipman if you're in the Navy. So that recommendation could be retain them, let them go on, let them commission, or it could be disenroll them. That gets routed through the legal shop all the way up to the main command, and it's usually a 2-star command, right? In the Army, it goes up to cadet command at Fort Knox. In the Navy, it goes all the way up to I think it's SecNav or the Secretary of the Navy, but it's delegated down a little bit. The Air Force, it goes up to the AFROTC commander. They have the ability, because you're not even in the military, to override whatever the board says. So before, when we were talking about
either way, override it either way.
Either way. So if the board said that the misconduct did not happen, right? If they say the sexual assault did not happen, retain him. Commander come back, say, I don't care, kick him out.
Just off the evidence they received.
Yeah. So it's very important that not only do you do a great job at the board, but then you also have a good like a good pack or whatever that goes up on top of it up to that commander. I have not seen that happen, though. Typically what you see is just the opposite. You get a guy who maybe they showed up late to classes a couple of times. They recommend disenrollment, and obviously the guy is remorseful. He's got a good track record, good PT, whatever, and then the commander will give him another chance.